Hey, what's happening, Wes?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm trying to find out. Can you tell me what is happening? I have no idea.
Dude, I'm so beyond knowing what is happening that we should probably just ask the chat. They're the ones who will let us know. I'll tell you what's happening is that as I'm getting this stream set up, I realized that over on IGN, their newest episode of Podcast Beyond that went up just a mere 23 hours ago. There's a PSVR2 on the thumbnail, and it says, "Will PSVR2 be worth the wait?" And let me tell you something. There's only 9,000 views on it, and it's been up for a day. I'd love to compare this to their other episodes and find out if this is a typical number of views for their podcast. I don't think it is. I think they usually get much higher than this right off the bat.
You would think so. But honestly, I would think that the VR content would be a little more, considering the panel of VR experts that IGN employs over there. I would think that everyone would be on the edge of their seat to get IGN's verdict on the next gen of PSVR.
This is good, Wes. This is exactly how I wanted to start off the stream, by throwing shade at the biggest video game news outlet there is. This isn't going to come back and bite us in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, and it's totally the first time I've ever done that, too.
Right. Oh yeah, like we've never done this before. This joke will be way funnier in a couple of weeks, and you guys will see eventually. Dude, let's start the show.
Let's go.
This is PSVR GamesCast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Two Eyes Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live, 6 p.m. Eastern, or today, 6:30. What are you going to do? We do it live for your viewing pleasure. But if you don't like looking at our faces, we totally understand that. You can totally watch this after the fact with your ears on podcast services of your choice, like Spotify. That's right. With your ears, Wes, for your oral pleasure. My name is Brian Powell from this channel right here, and over to my right is Wes Dillon from our sister channel. That's right, our sister channel. It's not really, but it's a nice way of saying it. It's Wes Dillon from Virtual Strangers.
I'll take it, bro. Let me ask you, though, do I have dead eyes right now? Can you see life in them, or are they shifty like Lee Van Cleef?
Dude, I'm not going to lie to you. Every time you blink, it kind of freaks me out.
Yeah, I think my eyes are a little too emotive for this technology, so we're going to go ahead and switch it off. There's my real eyes. Hello, everyone. Hello, Gamecats. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Doing okay, man. Doing okay. Thanks for asking. What's going on over there in the world of Virtual Strangers these days?
Recovery, bro. Recovery. We just did 2022 show, as we have alluded to, for weeks on end now, and I'm still feeling it, man. Like we said we weren't going to do 14 hours this year. We didn't. We did 13 and a half.
Mm-hmm. I heard through the grapevine that my segment got cut because of how long you can stream on YouTube for.
Just the goodbyes. Just the goodbyes. Most of it's in there, but okay. Yeah, the very end of it's gone. And we did recap when we we were prepared for it this year. Last year, it kind of blindsided us. We did go ahead and switch over the stream as soon as we came back from your segment. I had a new stream page ready to go. I dropped the link in the chat. Everybody just moved over, and yeah, it went pretty well considering. But you're right. We're probably going to upload your segment in its entirety for those of you who want to catch the tail end of it. Yeah, we've still got it. I told Roots not to flush it yet. So,
I mean, don't do it for my sake. That's for sure.
Oh no, not for your sake. It's for the sake of being a completionist, I guess. I don't know that I'll publish it publicly, but I'll do an unlisted page for it, and then those who want to go see it can go click on it and see it.
Sure. I feel you, man. I'm a completionist myself. I feel like it has to be there. I get it. Monkey Nuts in the chat. funny. I was going to read your comment and I didn't read your name first. Doesn't matter. Monkey Nuts is a great name. It says, is there going to be a Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 update for PSVR 2? Yes, there is. In fact, you can already pre-order the PSVR 2 version of Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 over on the PlayStation Store. It's a little confusing because it's, I think, currently only available in a bundle with Chapter 2, and they haven't given us their plans for the upgrade path. So if you already own it on PSVR1, are you going to have to purchase it again? Are they going to give you a free upgrade? We don't know. Currently, this is the only way you can get it on PSVR2. So stay tuned, Monkey Nuts.
I just kicked my game back a little bit. Tiffany says she was hearing an echo on me. I'm not sure if anyone else is hearing that, but my gain was a little higher than normal. So you might want to just check your level there, make sure everything's good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm boosting you back up. I wasn't hearing an echo on my end. I'm wondering if that was just Tiffany.
Tiffany, is your cell phone in your lap, Tiffany? Is that what's up?
How many windows do you have open watching us?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, please let us know in the chat. Dude, we have so much to talk about today. But real quick, a little bit of housekeeping. Guys, if you're not already members of our Discord, all you do in the description below is click the link and join us over there. These conversations happen 24/7. It's a great place to come join us for multiplayer meetups. Every single Sunday, a game is chosen. It's decided on by you guys for the community to go play multiplayer games and PSVR1 games, probably PSVR1 games that have just been sitting in your backlog, on your hard drive, or maybe not even, that maybe you haven't had a chance to give enough love to. So this is really your chance to play some PSVR1 games before you upgrade to PSVR2 and finally play some of those long lost classics. And also, just today, we announced the Gamecat Meetup 2024. Yes, 2024, Wes. We were planning far ahead. We were going to do one later this year, and it just seemed like it wasn't coming together. We couldn't find a good event that we all wanted to go to, and so this time we're doing it PAX East 2024, which is not coincidentally in my neck of the woods. We're trying to make this as easy on me as possible. And PAX East is such a cool place to go hang out. You get to go play a ton of games. You get to wander the convention halls for like 4 days straight. There's plenty of panels to go to, and on top of that, it's set up perfectly for gamers, right? You bring your Switch, bring your Vita, bring whatever the hell you want to bring your Steam Decks, and all around the outside of the convention hall, there's just places for you to sit and hang out. And so when you get tired of walking around and you just need some food, you want to hang out, we all play Mario Kart and just fucking chill for like an hour. And then we're like, okay, you guys ready to get back on your feet? Let's go. We're planning it now so that you guys, we can figure out numbers ahead of time. And so we can start booking hotel rooms like a year in advance. We can book flights a year in advance, and that's when you're going to get them for the absolute cheapest rates possible. So that's why we're planning it so far ahead of time. We've got 14 months to figure this shit out, and we're going to start every episode of GamesCast Live, Wes, for the next 14 months with an explanation of what Gamecat Meetup 2024 will entail. So just copy and paste that into every single GamesCast from now till eternity.
So relieved that it's in 2024, Brian, because when I woke up literally minutes ago, I rolled over and I saw that it's in mid-March, and I'm like, no, I can't go. It's too soon. I'm trying to go to GDC in March. I'm trying to make that happen, and it would be very difficult for me to do both. So, like, I was panicking until I gave it a second look and saw that 2024 on there. It was like, yes, maybe we can pull 2024 off. That's enough time for us to figure it out.
Hell yeah. Let's hope so. Anyway, let's hope. In the chat, we got Mutant Fox with the $5 tip says, besides the flat games getting VR, I didn't read this ahead of time, so I'm reading it for the first time. Besides flat games getting VR, I had no idea there were PSVR2 games already up for pre-order on the store. Great job marketing, Sony. It's true. Great job marketing, Sony. And worse than that, Wes, not only are there PSVR2 games up on the store that Sony didn't really even tell us were up on the store, although I'm sure they did at some point in a blog post somewhere. Right?
In a blog post, yep. Right.
I don't know if you noticed today, Wes, but there is actually a new game available to pre-order or to wishlist, I believe. Wishlist for PlayStation VR2 on the store as of today. And that game Ghostbusters: Rise of the Ghost Lord. It has been announced. The release date currently is just 2023, but it's always exciting, man. Right? It's always exciting to see a new PSVR2 game up on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was under the impression that we still have a lot of weight on this one, but I could be wrong about that. So this is kind of exciting. Although this is a title being published by a Sony subsidiary, right? The Sony Motion Pictures, whatever.
Sure.
So it makes sense that they would start the promotion early. It's just we're so used to Sony bungling anything promotional related that it's a little surprised that they're out ahead of this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, they haven't completely not bungled this one, to use your term. Because, dude, again, this just doesn't appear anywhere on the PlayStation Store. Even though we're looking at the store page right now, in order to get to this page, you would think you could just scroll down to the PSVR 2 section, click that button, and boom, it would just be one of the 15 games that appears there. It's not. This game is not there on the list. Kayak VR is not there on the list. There are others that are not there on the list. I believe Mossbook 1 and 2 are missing. I forget what else is missing. But it's just disappointing, I think, because when people are saying, "Oh man, PSVR 2, you can pre-order PSVR 2 right now," I wonder what's available. And they head on over there and they see maybe half of the games that have been announced so far. I don't know. It's just disappointing to me.
It's not surprising, though. I mean, how long has the PlayStation Store absolutely sucked? For as long as I can remember. So, yeah, no big shock here.
Yeah. T'Challa, the marvelous Gamecat. With the that was interesting. I think my voice cracked while I did that perfectly. $5 tip says, I'd love to see the Resistance series make a comeback in VR. Were you a fan of the Resistance games, Wes? Were you playing on the PS3 back in those days?
That was during my lapse as a gamer. You know, I have a couple of them here, but only after I picked up a PS3 as kind of a retro console from GameStop. I bought a big stack of games, and the Resistance games were in that stack, but I never played them. They're still over there collecting dust where they've been for the last 5 years. So, no. Honestly, many of these big franchises that people pine away at and want to play in VR, and some of which have come to VR, I never played when they were flat. Fallout's a great example of that. I never played Fallout flat. I played it in VR. I never played Half-Life flat. I played it in VR. So this is another one of those, and I probably won't play it unless I can play it in VR, because that's just who I am now.
Yeah, understandable. I feel like any games that I missed in that generation and aren't coming to VR, it's probably too little, too late. But I was a huge gamer during that era, or a huge PlayStation gamer during that era, and so I played every Resistance game that came out. I played every Killzone game that came out, and yeah, absolutely dying for those games to come back. And I don't think bringing them back in on the flat screen is the way to go. I feel like those games were mildly successful on the flat screen, and that's why we didn't get sequel after sequel after sequel after sequel. We got, the core trilogies on PlayStation 3, but then very few games after that. We got Killzone Shadowfall at the launch of PS4, but that was like, it was what it was, and I think we all know what it was, which was like meh. And then we got, for Killzone, we got the Vita game, which was incredible, and then we kind of never heard of it again. Resistance.
I remember the promos.
Yeah.
I remember the promos. The commercials were epic. I remember seeing them and being like, man, that looks cool. Maybe I should start playing games again.
Yeah. But this is perfect, especially with the Killzone rumors. It is very, very possible that we could start seeing some of these dormant franchises come back to life. It'd be fantastic if that could happen.
It'd be great. That would be like a renaissance of the PlayStation culture, I want to say, like, to bring back some of these classic titles, these legendary IPs that no one has seen nor heard of in over a decade. Like, bring it back in VR. That could be big for VR, let alone PlayStation,
Yeah. Agreed. Where's Infamous? I want to be cool.
Oh, God. Don't get me started on that. There's one I did play, and I absolutely love Infamous. And tailor-made for VR, it seems. That's like the perfect VR game.
Yeah. And playing that in first person with the Sense controllers and actually holding your hands out and pulling the triggers and raising off the ground, right? You feel that
God, man.
just the force coming from your hands to lift you off the. I mean, that alone. Forget about the the electric bolts that you're firing. You're right.
And surfing on the power lines, zapping people as you go across the city. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. The fact that it was the third person game to begin with. I think it would have worked better in first person. Maybe. Who knows? Now let's ride the game P line with the $5. Says my G29 racing wheel came in today. Thank you, AJ, for telling us about the Amazon sale, which is still in effect, by the way. Man, I've been flirting with that one for sure. I keep looking at it every day and you go, I should just fucking pull the trigger, man. I should. I keep thinking it's so far away, but it's not. I think it's usually $400 and it's like $250-ish. Like it's
that's the price. That's what I got mine at. It was right around. I think maybe I got mine for $230 or something like that. But they typically don't go on sale for less than $250 very often. It's like maybe Black Friday and maybe one other time a year it might go a little bit less than that. But it's definitely the time to buy if this is something you guys are thinking about doing. You can also drop another like $50 on a generic stand to mount it to, and it really adds a lot to it. That way you're not busting your computer desk up trying to race.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's keeping me from buying the G29 is every single time I mention buying a wheel, it comes in with like 17 different reasons why I should buy one over the other. And I keep going, I need to research this. I need to be responsible. And eventually the responsible thing to do is just fucking pull the trigger, right? Because I've heard equal number of people on both sides of the argument saying, yo, this is the best one. No, this is the best one. And they're like, you know what? In VR, it's going to be amazing no matter what. Peter Figueroa in the chat says, in all capital letters, don't buy a generic stand for $50. I'm not going to buy a generic stand for $50. I'm going to buy something I can sit in with a car seat that I can mount a camera to, and so you guys can be in the car with me while I drive.
Well, there you go. Well, I like my generic stand for $50, but I don't. It certainly doesn't have a seat on it or anything you can mount a camera onto. Well, I'll take that back. You can mount a camera onto it. There's a little table on either side of it that's about the right size to mount a camera on, so you could probably do that. I will say this in favor of the G29, the force feedback is a little bit more refined on it versus the Thrustmaster alternative, but games have to support it. There's just a handful of games that support the advanced haptic feedback. I forget what it's called, but it has a special marketing name. I don't remember what it's called. But I mean, they're very comparable, the Thrustmaster and Logitech alternatives. The Fanatec ones are way better, but they're also way more expensive and way out of my price range. So I did do this research and spent a few months on it before I actually pulled the trigger, and I think I made the right choice.
A perky PSVR Gamecast says Brian's racing setup is going to be in his closet, calling it now. I'm assuming you mean I'm not going to play it inside my closet, that after 2 weeks after the purchase point, it's going to end up in the closet, never be pulled out again. Totally possible. You should see where Tornado's treadmill is. I just had to throw it into the corner. It's like, she's not using it. I got to pull it back out. I got to make her use that shit.
True Force. This track says GT7 supports True Force, so I guess that's what it's called.
True Force. Nice. All right. Joshua Taylor in the chat says, is there any word on whether we'll be able to buy the controllers for PSVR 2 separately yet? No word on that. I'm actually really surprised, Wes, that with we can order a charging stand on Sony's official direct PlayStation. Yeah.
I'm completely angry that there's now a charging stand available. After I bought the original chargers that were available with the pre-order, now they have this awesome stand you can put your headset on. Kind of pisses me off a little bit, honestly.
Yeah. This is a third-party brand, right?
I don't know. Is it?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, pretty sure. But yeah, I mean, but actually a lot of people asked me that. They said, hey, is there one that holds the headset as well? And I said, well, not yet. And then as of today, there is. So
I saw some stuff on the CES floor from Mantis or the Bionic, whoever it was that makes the Mantis headphones.
Yeah.
They have the exact same ones. And like literally they're the exact same thing, but they're branded PSVR 2 now. And then they had something else like a charging stand or something else beside of them, but it all looked very generic and shitty. So I didn't even give it a second thought. I just kept walking.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, those guys can fuck themselves. They've got the worst customer service. Their headphones fell apart from normal wear and tear. I had them clipped on the PSVR headset, normal wear and tear, and then the thing that pushes them against your ear rather than just dangling.
Hurts.
It not only does it hurt, but they break. And so then it just dangles next to your ear, and so you can't even hear properly. And I messaged them after just owning it for a few months and said, hey, I actually enjoy your product. Although the over the ear cuffs that they sold were garbage. I was like, I actually enjoy your product because for the convenience, not for the sound quality. I was like, but they broke. I was like, do you have any kind of like customer service, any kind of warranty that like you can replace them or anything? And they were like, no. I was like, oh, well, then I'm never buying anything you make ever again. It hasn't been a pleasure.
I use those things for a week. I use those things for a week, man. They hurt my ears. They had no bass whatsoever. It was all mids and highs. And I was just like, you know what? I like my Sony headphones better. Screw this. And I took them off, threw them in my drawer, tried to sell them on Facebook for $20, like new in the box. Nobody wanted them, and they're still here.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. The sound quality on those were garbage. You're right. They're just little earbuds, or even like cheap little headphones, over-the-ear headphones are so much better. And so I just liked them for the convenience that they actually clipped onto the headset. And so every time I put the headset on, boom, they were just right there. And so, one less thing to deal with. So, but other than that, I mean, I will deal with a little inconvenience to have a much higher quality sound. So screw those guys. All right, man. So one of the things you and I were talking about was you and I were talking about Song in the Smoke. What are they using as the tagline? Rekindled Edition for PSVR 2, and how they're going back in. They're giving us a brand new PSVR 2 version of one of my favorite PSVR1 games, and they said it's going to look even better than the highest end PC VR version, and they're taking feedback from gamers who played the Gen 1 version, and they're going to incorporate a lot of that stuff into this version, and they're just so excited over there at 17-bit about this remaster. And so that got you and I talking a little bit about, well, where the hell are all these other remasters, right? So many developers have sort of come out of my steering wheel closet and said, like a Pistol Whip is coming to PSVR 2 and Mossbook 1 and 2. And despite the fact that some of these are going to be free upgrades and some of them will be paid upgrades and some of them will be, you have to just buy them all over again. There's still so many titles out there, Wes, that we don't know anything about. Why are so many of these studios being quiet? Why aren't they announcing their PSVR 2 plans? Let's start there. What's the fucking conspiracy theory, Wes? We need to know what's happening.
I don't know. For the longest time, we thought Sony was muzzling these people and just not letting them talk. But now that we've got a good handful of studios that have come forth, it makes you wonder, did Sony just give those guys the green light? Or maybe these next-gen remasters a little bit further away than what you would think, so nobody wants to mention it quite yet? I don't know. It is a bit confusing, though, when we have this catalog of hundreds of titles and probably a good 200 at least that you would expect to get some kind of next gen support for, and nothing, crickets right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so the fact that Sony hasn't said anything about their first party games coming to PSVR 2, which, I mean, you've got to assume there's some kind of, whether it be just like a visual upgrade that takes advantage of the haptics and the new controllers, or whether they're actually going to expand on these games and add a little bit more content or do whatever. The fact that they haven't said anything to me means that they're holding it all back, and they're saving it up for some kind of showcase, some kind of state of play. And I think along with that are all these developers who haven't said anything yet. And that might just be me being ridiculously optimistic, as I have been for like 2 years now, and it's getting real tiring. I'll say that, being the optimistic one. But so far, it's paid off, I think. Really, really hoping we see something from Sony soon, some kind of event where they, even if it's just a sizzle reel, where they say, and here's a bunch of games that you're going to be able to play on PSVR 2 if you already own them on PSVR 1 type thing. And just give us a sizzle reel. That's all we need.
For real, man. Just 2 seconds each. Just enough to let us know what's coming. That's all we need. 5 or a 3-minute reel with like 30 games in it or something like that. That would set the internet on fire. Anyone who was interested in this would finally have their doubts laid to rest, and people would finally pull the trigger on those pre-orders. Speaking, of course, about the ones that haven't already, the freaks like us who are just going to buy it no matter what.
Daniel Brown in the chat, taking a brief detour for a second here, with the $5 tip says, do you think that the boat ride in Horizon would spoil some of the campaign?
No, the boat ride in the Horizon is very much you could tell it's meant to have a little bit of a wow factor for those who are new to VR.
Yeah.
But no, there's not. All it is you're well, you guys have seen it. You know what it is. You're going down the river. You see all of the big machines as they pass over. The scale is supposed to wow you. The colors and resolution supposed to wow you, and it does. I don't mean it's supposed to, and it doesn't. It does. It absolutely wows you. But as far as like the story campaign goes, I mean, not that I really heard much of what the characters were saying during that. They were speaking at me, but I couldn't hear them, so I don't know what they were saying. But as far as like what happens during it, no, there's nothing. You can watch it safely. It's not going to spoil anything for you.
Up to some surprises, like the Ocean's Descent thing, where like you go down once and you just kind of like look around and it's like, oh, look at the fish, and jellyfish. Second time you go down a little bit deeper and you're like, oh, this is so nice, and you see shark in the distance, right? And then like the last time you go down, it's like the shark attacks the cage and you're like, what the fuck? Like I hope that there's some sort of something like that. Not saying that you have to, play through it multiple times or anything like that, but I really do hope that the longer you sit in this boat, the more intense it gets, because it'll be nice to kind of like just touch the water and just mess around the boat and look at the machines as they walk over you. But I don't know, I just kind of want it to get like kind of chaotic the further you get. Hopefully it starts raining and you feel it in the headset. I don't know,
that'd be great.
I'm just being optimistic.
That'd be great. It's not happening, but that'd be great.
I mean, did they give us any kind of sense of like how long the boat ride is? Like, the separate boat ride experience?
Felt kind of long, actually. Felt it was like 3 to 5 minutes at least. Yeah, it took a minute to get down the river there.
You're talking about the beginning of the demo though that you played, right?
Right.
But there's a separate boat ride experience that's being included with Horizon. You think it's just going to be that opening segment?
I do. I think it's going to be the same thing.
Interesting. Okay, I think I've just had it in my head that it's going to be a completely separate thing. But you're saying it's just.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. I have no faith in it. I think that they probably just clip the front end off of their game, and that's the demo.
Can we make a pizza bet?
Sure, man. You're on.
All right. So whoever our official pizza bet note taker in the chat is. It's not AJ. Put this one in the books. Brian bets that the Horizon Call of the Mountain boat ride will be somewhat of a PSVR Worlds experience, a 10+ minute boat ride, similar to like Ocean's Descent. Whereas Wes believes it'll just be the beginning of the demo or beginning of the game, the 3 to 5 minutes. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Yeah, it's about a 5-minute ride down the river. That's what it felt like anyway. I didn't time it, but
nice.
That's what it felt like.
Your Long Shadow says, I doubt it's a separate experience. Let me know in the chat. I really just thought that we were all on the same page about this one. It's crazy.
I've heard you mention that a couple of times before, and I've thought to myself, nah, but I didn't think that people really believed that there was a separate thing. So maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope to buy you a pizza, Brian.
Is this our first official pizza bet?
We've had some others, but I don't remember what they are.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fun part about pizza bets is that like we make them and then no one keeps track of them. And we just eat pizza all the time. We're like, I don't know if I won this one or lost it, but the pizza's fucking great. So back to PSVR 1 games that need PSVR 2 remasters. Obviously, we hope to hear about a lot of these games soon. But so far, we haven't heard from any of these studios other than some whispering, I think. I think a lot of studios have kind of just been like, oh, we'll announce something soon. But a lot of these studios haven't said anything. And I want to start off with one list that hasn't said anything, and I have zero faith that something will come of this. And that's Golem. Now, I'm pretty sure Golem was funded by Sony. And so that's the only part of me that believes like, okay, well, if Sony funded it, then maybe Sony could reach back out to these guys and say, hey, here's a game that was stunningly beautiful on PlayStation VR. Like, it was one of the first PlayStation VR games ever announced. It took years for us to even see it again. And then when we finally heard about it again, it launched, and we were like, well, there's no way this game's going to be good. We still don't even know what kind of game it is, right? It was kind of a messed up marketing campaign, to say the least. But it was beautiful. It was stunningly beautiful. And I thought the combat was so much fun. The exploration was a lot of fun. And it's just one of those games you just love to get lost in. But the control scheme was just kind of garbage. It was. They refused to let us use 2 move controllers, right? Like, all we needed was a left hand that we could just hold the move button down with and then fight with our right hand. But instead they were like, oh, you can use a nav controller, which works on PlayStation 4, but not on PlayStation 5. So what are we left doing? We're holding a DualSense controller, a DualShock controller in our left hand and using an analog stick, which doesn't feel good to hold half a controller in one hand for hours at a time.
Or you could lean. You could lean forward.
Dude, these guys, is it Highwire Games that made this? I believe it's Highwire. These guys, I complained to them on Twitter, and I was like, dude, I've got a sore neck from playing your game for so long, right? I was like, this is bad, and they just kind of shoved it off, man. They're kind of dicks about it in their response. So I really want this to have a second chance, because I think it was a beautiful game. It's just one of those games that shouldn't have even existed, considering that we thought it was canceled for years. And then it just kind of didn't quite cross the finish line the way that it needed to in order for everyone to be like, this is fucking amazing. If it just had a slightly better control scheme, which obviously we'd get with the Sense controllers, man, I think this would be amazing.
Yeah, it really is a waste of a great game. Obviously, very high production values, just a great concept for a game. Everything is pretty much a 10 in this game, other than the tracking and the movement. It wasn't tailored well. It's like they tried to tailor it to the move control and the camera setup, but they failed at that, and they failed so miserably at that the game kind of fell to the wayside, and a lot of people don't even know how great this game is because of the reviews it got. A lot of people never even tried to play it. I think if any game from the PSVR1 library needs a next-gen update, it's Golem. And the sad thing is even if they come out tomorrow and announce that they're working on it, we still probably won't get it until 2027 because, it's Golem, right?
Right. Yeah, man, I agree. But I just don't have a whole lot of faith in this one, except for the fact that Sony might have poured a whole lot of money into it. And if they poured a whole lot of money into it and didn't get their return, then who knows? Maybe they'll hit these guys up again. The last I heard, this was the team that was doing. They were eventually the ones who picked up the 7 Days in Fallujah game, which got canceled fucking forever ago because it was too, I don't know, controversial. And then here it is, back to life, and these are the guys doing it. So I can't imagine that that's going well for them. So
a talented group of game devs and a lot of money in that studio. So yeah, we need to see something from them. Hopefully, it is a Golem remake at the very least. Yeah,
I agree. And it was so good looking that I really don't think the texture work needed to be redone. We're looking at just a different. We just want to display in 4K. So I don't know exactly how much work that would be because I don't make games, but there's so many games on PSVR that just if it's getting remade for PSVR 2 or remastered, then you want to upscale those textures, and you want to like maybe even go back in and rework those textures to make sure that they don't look just like a blur on PSVR 2. This game I feel like was already there, and with the 4K display, it'll just look great.
Yeah.
And we've already spent way too much time on this one game, Wes. What other games need a remaster that we haven't heard anything from?
Well, are we doing our wish list here, or things that are realistic? Because if we're doing my wish list, I mean,
sure.
There's always this one that I absolutely love and talk about on every GamesCast. Here They Lie. What? I say that if there's one game that needs a modern update, it's Golem. No, if there's a game that needs a modern update, it's Here They Lie, because this game was outdated when it launched, and it's so good. The world is so good. The story and meaning behind it is so awesome, and it's so visceral and striking from an imagery standpoint. It's a masterpiece of a game that is kind of outdated on a technical level. So I would really, really love to see a next-gen version of this game, although I don't expect it at all. It's not happening. But if I had to pick one, this would be the one I got to pick.
Well, you know a little bit more about what happened to this team than I was going to say than I do, but you probably know more about what happened to this team than most people. What's going on over there? It was 10 Gentlemen Games, right?
Yeah, it was the Tangentlemen for a while, which became Tangent Games. But the crew that made the game aren't at Tangent Games anymore. As far as I understand, Tangent Games is still an active studio doing flat games. But I think they still own the IP or the rights to it. So, I mean, if there's going to be a remaster, it's not going to come from the people that designed the game and originally came up with it. Those people, or at least a good portion of those people, are at a new studio now called Eyes Out, working on a new game. They have a publishing deal with Epic Games. It's supposedly a new take on a horror game, very audio centric. The creator of Here They Lie collaborating with Robin Fink, the guitarist from Nine Inch Nails, and
okay, it's all coming back to me
Roses.
now.
Yeah. So those guys are working on something new, and that's probably the one thing that I'm most excited for in all the video games right now is what exactly are they making. But as far as Here They Lie goes, it would just kind of be up to Tangent Games to remaster it, and I imagine they probably wouldn't unless Sony threw them a check and said, "Here, remaster Here They Lie, please," and then they might do it. But it's weird, man. This game is beautiful and blurry at the same time. It's one of my favorite games. It's probably the one game that I've played through more than any other. But the controls suck. It can be nausea-inducing at times. You really have to be dedicated to play through this in like 1 to 2 sittings. But I love it anyway. I love it in spite of its flaws, and would really like to see it get the treatment I feel it deserves, because it is a masterpiece of a game.
Yeah, I remember walking up from the subway where you first start in this game. You hang out down there a little bit, you answer a phone, and you do your thing, and then once you start going up these subway stairs, you enter the outside. It's like a marketplace, right? Basically, right in this little town. I would say a little town. It's more like a city, but it's a marketplace area, and there's just so much detail. So I 100% know what you're talking about. It's like it's blurry, but there's under that Vaseline smear, there is so much detail going on. There's stuff on every single table, and you walk down every single alleyway, and there's just stuff littering the alleys. It's beautiful, and you just kind of wish you could see, like, just wipe the lenses clear and see what's really behind all of that. Yeah, beautiful game, and like disturbing. I love everything about this, and I want 2 hands in that game too. Let me put the DualSense down.
Right.
Yeah,
so great. If we could see everything, because even to this day, every time I played, I discover things I didn't notice last time, and there's so much hidden meaning and symbolism and the smallest little details hidden throughout the game that it kind of sucks that we can't see everything. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would love to. Again, I would love to have an update for this.
Yeah, well, there's so many different reasons to want updates for different games. Like I said, that one specifically was pretty blurry, and that's a huge reason to want to redo that one. But the blur isn't the biggest problem I have with Stride, Wes. Stride on PSVR, unfortunately, is getting the short end of the stick. It is blurry. The controls are tolerable. it takes a little while to get the hang of them. But on top of that, we didn't get any of the content that the PCVR guys got. We're not getting the multiplayer update. We're not getting, as far as we know, we're not getting the campaign, which was actually delayed for everybody once we found out that it was only an hour long. And so I think that a lot of PSVR gamers felt like they got the short end of the stick. At launch, I reviewed it when it was $15, and I was like, yeah, even if this is all we get, the time trials are really fun. But they kind of did us dirty because they didn't tell us out of the gate that we weren't getting all the updates. And so I think a good way to rectify that would be to say, hey, if you own this game, you get a free PSVR2 upgrade, the resolution's way better, and you're going to get all the content. Thank you for supporting us on that platform that we didn't support after launch. I think that's the only way to make amends and make this all better.
I agree. I don't know how confident I am that they're going to do that. I don't know how confident I am that they're going to do anything. Joyway is a different beast entirely. The way that they conduct business, I don't understand a lot of their decision making. But again, that's on them. You're right. They did kind of short sell the PSVR crowd with the way that they. Or lack of support for Stride, but they're doing the same thing on other titles on other platforms too. So it's not just that they're screwing PSVR players; they're screwing players everywhere, but in a different way on each platform. Right. For what it's worth, I'm a fan of this studio. That they're constantly announcing new titles. The new ones are always better than the older ones, but they don't finish anything, and that's kind of a problem.
Yeah. I agree, but Stride is. I like what I've seen of their other games. Like their other games look cool, but they look like they're taking the Stride formula and expanding on it. And I don't think they need to do that quite yet. I think Stride is actually delivering on what a lot of people wanted, which was the Mirror's Edge formula, right? And so people have been saying for years they want Mirror's Edge in VR, and these guys saw that EA wasn't doing it and said, "Fuck it, we'll do it." And so I think they're onto something here. And I think before they get too far away from Stride, they need to finish that campaign and deliver it on all platforms. So I think there's a possibility. I think they are all over the place. They're a little bit ADD in their approach to game design, but I think at some point you've got to look at the numbers and say, this is making us money. We need to focus on the thing that's making us money. They're so quick to cancel games that are in early access that are not making them money, that at some point you got to say, well, let's focus on the thing that is. It's my hope anyway.
We got Truant Pixel dropping codes in the chat. People on guard. Grab it. Hurry. Whoa, there's another one.
Whoa. All right, I'm going to guess. I haven't been keeping up. I didn't know Truant Pixel was here. What's going on? I'm assuming that's M. What's up, M? Hoping everything's going well. My guess, of course, is that these are keys for 2MD VR football on PSVR1. So guys, keep in mind, what an interesting way, West, to steal the spotlight for a second on our show. Well done, Truant Pixel. I'm guessing that these are 2MD VR football codes on PSVR1. And if you guys didn't know, you'll be able to upgrade the game that's being given away right now. AJ says, those better be runner codes. 2MD VR Football is getting an upgrade to the sequel on PSVR 2, which is 2MD VR Football Unleashed All-Star, which is like the fucking Chapter 2 requisition of today's episode. It for $4, $3.99. So anybody who's getting this key, don't forget, you're going to be able to upgrade this on PSVR 2 for a minimal charge. And I will say, Wes, I haven't played Unleashed All-Stars, but the trailer, which is not the trailer we're showing here, you can see here, this is 2MD with all like the kind of stick figure football players. There's actual football players, like actual animated models and stuff in the sequel. So I think it's going to be a whole lot better. Oh, Mike Kelly VR got one. Congratulations.
Yeah, they've given this title incredible support over the years, and they keep bringing out new versions on different platforms, and every version is just a little bit better than the last one. And so I got to expect when this hits PSVR 2 next year, we're going to get the definitive version. And it's kind of cool because, a lot of the criticisms that people have had for NFL Pro Era don't apply here. This is on a technical level a much better and funner football experience than the NFL game that came out recently.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely. I was concerned because I wasn't concerned. I just didn't like I just didn't like NFL Pro era. So glad that 2MD is taking care of that in the absence of really any other football game. I would say it's surprising that EA hasn't come along and brought Madden to VR, but I mean, a lot of studios haven't brought their big name games to VR. So again, just like Joyway with Stride, True and Pixel is doing their due diligence with this. All right, man.
Never mind. I was gonna say they'll all figure out how to make VR games when we have 20 million headsets. 20 million people buying games.
Yeah.
Up until then, they're just going to sit it out, I think.
When there's money to be made, right?
Right. Exactly.
I think you're up next. Is that right?
Sure. And let's see. I have so many here. Why don't we start at the bottom of my list that I put forth?
All right.
Let's talk about Windlands 2 for a moment. Because I feel like, this game was almost there on PlayStation. This was a great PC VR game back in its day. I was super excited to hear that it was coming to PlayStation VR 2. But when I played it, on PlayStation VR 1, but when I played it, I said something that I haven't found myself saying very often throughout the history of PSVR, and that is the move controllers just weren't enough for this game. There are things about the control scheme in Windlands 2, some of the finer things that just got lost in the wash because there wasn't enough buttons on the move controllers to handle it. And what that means is when you get further on in Windlands 2, some of these levels are very difficult and you need to have complete control. And you just don't with move controllers. So, I mean, bring the game over just as it is. That's fine. But having a new tracking system and a new control system will give this game a whole new lease of life in the PlayStation ecosystem.
Yeah, I agree. This game was so much fun, and it was great to do it multiplayer. I went through this entire game. I believe there was 4 of us that went through the entire thing. It was me and AJ, and I want to say MRI, and God, who else was it? Geisen. I know Geisen was there. Man, we had a lot of fun, but there were certainly moments. I know I'd gone back and played a little bit with Jay Meow and Josh Cat, and there were moments where I was like, it was just huge amounts of frustration where you just had to have pinpoint accuracy when you're grappling from place to place, or you just fall into this bottomless pit. And so, yeah, this game looked pretty decent on PSVR1. I want to say that VR Monkey ported this thing. I could be wrong about that. And I think they did a good job. But the sense of height in Windlands can be kind of amazing, for a world that looks cartoony like this. You're standing on the edge of a cliff, and then you look over and you're just like, Jesus, right? You forget for a second that you're in a game, despite the fact that it looks like this. And I think that with the up-res visuals, maybe get even a bigger sense of depth. And then, as you said, the controls. So this is definitely one that I think deserves a little bit more love. I have no idea how well it sold on PC VR. I have no idea how well it sold on PlayStation VR. But I think this was just a great adventure to go through with friends. Needs more love.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the OG co-op campaigns in VR, and definitely deserves to be brought along into the next gen.
Yeah. We were talking in voice chat before the show, Wes, and somebody said, do you think that with Switchback coming out, do we even need Rush of Blood on PSVR 2?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. This is a classic.
Yep. This is absolutely a classic. This was a launch title for PSVR1 and still one of our favorites on the platform. Anybody who's a fan of light gun shooters or roller coasters or horror games, I mean, it kind of has everything. And it's all sort of shoved in together and somehow does it seamlessly. Sadly, does not come together very well on PS5 when you play it in PSVR1 because there's some weird glitch that if you move your head too much or whatever, then it just pauses the game. And so that pulls you out of the immersion very, very quickly. This game needs to be on PSVR 2, especially since now it's sort of this series that Supermassive is doing. right? It's not just a one-off. Now they're doing these side like spin-off games that are roller coaster shooters of their games. This one was Until Dawn. The one they're doing now is the Dark Pictures with Switchback. And I just feel like you can't just let this slide. You need to show people what came before Switchback. Because, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, as far from what I've seen of Switchback so far, it looks like it's going to be great. I'm super excited about it, and I can't wait for the eye tracking segments where you're not supposed to blink. But Rush of Blood was so scary that I can't imagine that they're actually going to one-up themselves. And so I feel like I need to have both of these in my collection.
Well, here's the thing. When I think about Switchback and all the things that I'm looking forward to playing a true Rush of Blood sequel on a true next-gen headset, eye tracking aside, obviously that's number one, how they're going to use that. The next thing that I think of are haptics. You're on a roller coaster. You're on an old rickety roller coaster. And in this new hardware, you're going to be able to feel that. The controllers are going to shake. The headset's going to shake. It's going to really immerse you in the scenario that they're putting you in. I feel a classic like Rush of Blood, beyond like upscaled visuals, that enhanced haptic feedback and audio would really add another level of immersion to, again, what is already a classic evergreen title on PSVR1.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The chat is all over the place, and I love it. Now, Alice Ryan, the Game Feline, says, that's like saying, do we really need Resident Evil 7 since we have Resident Evil 8?
We do.
Yeah.
We can talk about that if you want.
Oh, dude, I'm fucking down. Let's talk about Resident Evil 7, because I'm excited for Resident Evil Village. Sure, right? Especially since I haven't played it yet. But Resident Evil 7 is my favorite PSVR1 game, right? We can talk about Saints and Sinners. We can talk about Rush of Blood. We can talk about all sorts of great games. Saints, Song in the Smoke, but nothing has come close for me to beating Resident Evil 7. The most scariest game I've ever played, Wes, and I've played a lot of scary games over the years.
Yeah, same here. This is my favorite PSVR game. It's the only game that still scares me every time I play it. Like, I love Rush of Blood. I don't get scared when I play Rush of Blood. I love Here They Lie. I don't get scared when I play it. When I play Resident Evil 7, I get scared every time. My heart beats through my chest. I jump out of my chair. Even when I know what's going to happen, it still scares me. And that's how well done it is. And this has been my favorite game since I played it. Since I first played it, this has been my favorite game until last summer when I played it on PC through a VR mod that gave me hands. It gave me upscaled visuals. It gave me all kinds of new lighting effects and no more aliasing. Everything's just clean. The best version of my favorite game is a mod, and I don't know how I feel about that. So Sony needs to rectify, or Capcom, or whoever.
Yeah.
We need a true next-gen version of Resident Evil 7, and it wouldn't be very hard for them to do. All of these Resident Evil games are the remakes and like the modern ones. They all kind of run in the same engine. So if they can do Resident Evil 8 Village in VR, it wouldn't take very much work for them to do 7 in full VR on PSVR 2. I think we will see that at some point. Hopefully it's sooner than later.
Yep. We've got a lot of agreement in the chat. Brucey No Sheds Gamecat, sorry, in the chat says, I still can't believe that Resident Evil 7 is still the pinnacle of PSVR 1, considering how early it was released in its life cycle. Yeah, man, that was a huge problem. We thought, hey, look, they did it with Resident Evil 7. That means we're going to get all these other amazing flat screen PlayStation 4 games also in VR. It just wasn't really the case at all. So it was a huge disappointment. They set us up for failure from the get-go. They gave us something amazing, and then they didn't come back to it for a long time.
And for what it's worth, it's not just PSVR, it's all VR. VR peaked in 2018. Like 2016, 2017, 2018, that was the best time. It has been downhill since standalone took over. I mean, in terms of gaming, the games have gone downhill since then. We've got great ones, obviously Saints and Sinners, Half-Life Alyx, but for the most part, most of the best games in VR today are games that came out in 16, 17, and 18.
Yeah. We've got an outlier in the chat. Of course, it's Distracted. He said, I stopped playing Resident Evil 7 because of the controls. I have to have this game with RE8 controls. Listen, I'm not going to fight you on this, Distracted, because I totally understand. You want as much immersion as possible, right? But man, I will say that within 20 minutes of playing Resident Evil 7 with a DualShock 4, I wasn't even remotely concerned about not having two hands in that game. That being said, this is a way to make everybody happy, to give us two hands in that game. Dude, the number of times I can imagine getting a little bit of haptic feedback in the headset from different things that are going on in the Baker estate. Just hearing Jack's footsteps coming down the hall, like doom, 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 as he gets closer and closer, and it gets more and more intense. I'm like, or even just feeling that in the sense controllers. I mean, there's so many different ways they can really go above and beyond with this thing. And then, of course, giving us two hands and making us aim the gun ourselves. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, it was so intense the first time. And I didn't have any problem with visuals, especially on the Pro. But, man, again, seeing this with crystal clear 4K display. I don't know.
It'll be the best. It'll be the best next gen, just like it was the best in the first gen.
Yeah. We got 4 tips to take care of before we move on. So let's let's start with the funniest one, and that's Looper the Game Cat with the €2 who says, "You're not going to have two hands for very long." That's true. No spoilers for Resident Evil 7, but yeah, that gets rectified real fast. We got AJ in the chat with the $5 tip, PSVR Underground. He says, Farpoint.
I agree. I would like to see. I'd like to see some upgrades for Farpoint on just a visual level. That game's so close to a masterpiece as it is. I don't know how I'd feel about leaving the aim controller behind, because the game is so, that controller is so central to what that game does. I don't know how it would translate to kind of having two hands, but it is a masterpiece of a game. It's a great story. It's a beautiful game for its time. Yeah. But it could definitely use some visual upgrades going into the next gen.
Yeah, that game was obviously designed for the aim controller. I didn't like playing it with the DualShock. With the aim controller is absolutely perfect. I still think it's the best aim controller game we have. The way that the in-game weapons move one-to-one with the aim controller is on a different level. Even when you take into consideration games like Firewall 0 Hour, right? They tried to give the gun some weight in those games, and so it doesn't quite move one-to-one. There's something special about how Farpoint does it. And then even switching weapons, you just you throw the gun up over your shoulder and boom, you bring it back down. It's a different weapon. It's great. It's really great, and I don't know how I'd feel about making these two-handed weapons into maybe smaller weapons that would fit in each of your hands. I don't know how that would work, or if I'd want that. But I do want it playable on PSVR 2, so let's fucking figure this shit out.
Yeah, for real. I'm more about a sequel with that one. We're long overdue the sequel to Farpoint. They left it open-ended so that a talented writer could move on from where the game ended. Yeah. And yeah, I'm ready for that. Beyond ready for it.
And Wes, if we want to be crowd pleasers, then we should say the thing that everybody's thinking, and that's that we need an AIM 2.0 for PSVR 2.0.
Please. And I know Sony probably doesn't want to do it. They probably look at something like that as like older tech, and they want to move on from it. But I feel like they could do an AIM 2.0 with new tech in it, and it would be amazing.
Yeah, agreed. AJ sends another $5 tip just to say, Blind Spot, which has been a running gag around here. I have a soft spot in my heart for Blind Spot. It's actually a pretty decent escape room game that didn't get enough love. It was also super fucking blurry. And I think more so than controls, I think that's what needs updating for so many PSVR games, is just those low res blurry visuals, which I think for a lot of people kept the immersion factor down. It really kept you from really feeling like you were in that mansion and in those rooms. And if that can be solved, then I think we're in a good place.
I can tell you it's a lot different for us having started on PSVR. When you talk to people who start on other platforms and move into PSVR, it's a lot bigger of a problem for them. Yeah. And what I've come to realize over time, playing on all the different platforms, is that your eyes and your mind adjust to whatever it is that you're seeing. So like if I play PC for 2 months and then I come over to PlayStation, it seems blurry, but only for like a day. But the next day, everything seems super crystal clear and sharp. And it's like, man, is my PlayStation just working better today? But that's not it at all. It's all happening up here.
Yeah. definitely mental. And then our final chat before we move on with some different PSVR1 games is from Ryan Barron with the $5 tip. Says, not sure if it was mentioned, but Aspire 1, Gun Club would be a great upgrade, removing the camera holding it back. Outside of games, 3D Blu-ray support. Agreed. Definitely want to check out some 3D movies, since I don't really have a better way to do it than in the headset. Aspire 1, Wes, what are your thoughts?
I guess in the context of versus the PSVR1 version, that's probably a pretty good pick. I thought Aspire 1 was actually a pretty decent game, but I didn't play it on PlayStation. I played it on another platform. From what I understand, the PlayStation version was not on par with the other platforms. So, yeah, that game probably could use a pretty big update for PSVR 2.
Yeah, I gotta say, I didn't play it on other platforms, but I just didn't like the game. Like, just the...
Well, it was really samey. Yeah, and one of the things I was very critical of it is that it's a stealth game that doesn't make you be stealth.
That's it.
You can run through it and kill everything very easily.
Yep.
So you kind of have to want to play it the way that they intended for you to play it. But I thought it was all right. I didn't think the criticism matched the game. I thought the game was better than people gave it credit for being. But yeah, you're right. Aspire 2 is much better than Aspire 1 in this.
That's good to hear.
In this aspect as well. So yeah. I agree. Aspire 1 could definitely use upgrade. Aspire 2, for what it's worth, has co-op levels that you can play with someone else, and they are levels that have been repurposed from the first game.
Yeah.
So it kind of has been updated in that way, I guess. But yeah, you're right. That game definitely could use some next-gen upgrades.
I don't want to downplay anyone's suggestions. I want to make that clear. If Ryan's interested in Aspire 1 being brought to PSVR 2, I'm 100% for it because I'm not just trying to be a crowd pleaser, Wes. I'm just about game preservation. I want every game on PSVR 1, even the shitty ones, all to be brought over to PSVR 2, just so nothing kind of gets lost in the dust. Nothing gets lost to the passage of time. Just even such a collector.
Even Ace Banana, Brian?
Especially Ace Banana, Wes. Especially Ace Banana. Yeah. All right, man.
Enough.
Throw another one at me.
All right. Well, I'm going to go off the list. Maybe not off your list. I'm going to go off my list.
My list was 47 games long. I think it's hard to go off my list.
Let me see. Let me see if my game's on your list. My game is on your list. Okay. Blair Witch. Oh, yeah. Brian, I love Blair Witch VR. I love how immersive this game is. I feel like next-gen graphics along with next-gen features like the haptics, like the audio, I feel like during those sequences where you start to lose your grip on reality a little bit because you are playing this person with mental illness, I feel like the next-gen hardware will really get that across a lot better when put to use by an expert game developer like Incuvo. So, I would love to see a next-gen version of Blair Witch because I absolutely love that game. And I feel like it would benefit a lot from the next-gen features of PSVR 2.
Wes, I swear I'm not trying to blast past your suggestion, but I want to kind of group it in with a bunch of other suggestions, and that is games like Paranormal Activity, The Lost Soul, and maybe Don't Knock Twice, and just pretty much
Exorcist Legion VR.
The Exorcist Legion VR. And I will say that the problem a lot of these games had were the same problem, and that was that the controls kind of sucked. And the Exorcist Legion VR, for whatever reason, Wolf and Wood Interactive just hated the conventional control scheme that everybody else was using, right? And so they were like, use triangle to walk forward, and you're like, what are you doing to me right now? Like, why is this a thing, right? Why should I have to lift my headset up and go, okay, that's it. And then on top of that, Paranormal Activity, The Lost Soul, man, trying to just use your inventory was just a mess. And so all of these horror games, some of them looked really good. I thought Paranormal Activity, The Lost Soul was I keep calling it almost photorealistic, but you go in and you're like, it's not. But that's what they were going for, and they came close. They look good. Blair Witch looks good. These games just need a huge control update just so everything feels better. And with horror games, I think you and I both agree that you can do a lot with vibration in the controllers, haptics in the headset, just to really add to those scares. Eye tracking.
Eye tracking.
Yes. Am I missing? Am I missing any big ones? Just now that we're just like kind of grouping all these horror games together.
Well, Looper just gave a €5 donation. Says, "How about the games that were much better on other platforms like Layers of Fear,
Ooh,
Obduction, and Maskmaker?" Yeah, Layers of Fear would be a good one.
Oh yeah,
I think.
I mean, Maskmaker. I think the biggest problem was it was just like the frame rate got choppy on PSVR. It was like nobody went to work that day during during the certification
Abduction's great.
process.
Abduction is a really, really good VR game on PC. It sucked there at first too, but they updated it, and now it's great. It's better than Miss VR for me, and yeah, I absolutely love Abduction.
Dude.
It's really good.
Abduction, I would love to finally be able to play through that entire game because Abduction is a beautiful game, and I do like that style of just kind of like wandering around trying to figure out what to do next. I like these puzzle games, but it was just so painful to play this one on PSVR because everything was super blurry. You could only teleport; there was no full locomotion, and every 2 or 3 times you'd click the teleport button, it would flash to a loading screen just for a few seconds, just to pull you out of it so that you could boom, 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 teleport another 3 steps, and then it would go to the loading screen. And then anytime you were on, when you were on the cart, on the rails or on the elevator, there were the biggest blinders you've ever seen in your life. And so to get a proper VR version of Abduction on PSVR 2, I would kill for that, man. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I think what's it, Firmament? They're working on a new game, Firmament,
Yep.
and I think it is going to be a PSVR 2 game. So.
Yeah, they have confirmed that, which is great, right? But it's sort of the whole Rush of Blood thing. It's like we want Rush of Blood 2. We also want the original, which not that Abduction is the original, but yeah.
We want Rush of Blood 2 and Rush of Blood 2.
Also correct.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with Layers of Fear. Layers of Fear really needs a better version on PSVR. That was kind of an embarrassment, and I was desperate for a horror game, so I think I overrated that one.
It needs a better version everywhere, but especially on PlayStation. Now, it's a dated game. It's a dated game no matter where you play it. Like, there's a bunch of empty drawers and blurry stuff in the drawers. That's not just PSVR, that's everywhere. But the overall clarity of the game was much better on other platforms than it was on PSVR.
What do you think? What do you think of this, Wes? Jason Voorhees in the chat says, "I won't buy Firmament until they fix Abduction." This is sort of the thing that I feel like not enough people do, right? I feel like we don't hold enough developers accountable for what they've done. For like as far as like the Stride thing, right? We're like, listen, you've got to rectify this situation. You've got to make it up to the people who spent money on your game and didn't get what you promised. And so I feel like not enough people are doing what Jason Voorhees is doing. But at the same time, it's like, is he just going to screw himself over? Because if they don't go back and fix Abduction, is he just screwing himself over? And like now he doesn't get to play an awesome PSVR 2 game with Firmament. Do we have to kind of forgive and forget, or do we have to hold these people accountable?
It's a tough one, and everyone's going to have to make their own decision on this. Like, I'm not strong enough to do that. Like, I understand how hard it is to make these games, and actually, I understand enough to know that I don't really understand how hard it is to bring these games into VR. So yeah, I get the sentiment, but at the same time, I hold this studio in pretty great high reverence for their creativity and the games that they've made in the past. This is puzzle game royalty. Like this, Cyan are the father of all these puzzle games that we all enjoy. So I do give them a little more leeway. But yeah, I could certainly understand why someone would say, well, you burned me once, you're not going to burn me again.
Yeah. It's like everybody's been saying this about Call of Duty for years now. Like years, being like, oh, Call of Duty sucks, I'm not going to buy next year's Call of Duty. Or Madden, they say it's the same game over and over, just with updated stats and updated players. It's like you're not going to get my $60 or my $70 this year. And then again, they're still the best selling game month after month after month. And it's like, well, no one's voting with their wallet. So fact is, I agree with you. Cyan Worlds is, I'm sure, I kind of feel like they did their best with Abduction, and their best just wasn't good enough.
Everybody should be mad at Sony for upholding that PS4 Slim standard up. Like every game has to run on the original, and I get why they did that.
Yeah.
But that's really why. That's why Obduction is what it is, and so many other games.
Yeah. I just feel like, I feel like if that's the best they could do with the OG PS4, then they just shouldn't have done it. Right? Be like, oh,
agreed.
If this is what we're going to deliver, then we shouldn't deliver at all, because we're just going to disappoint everybody. But yeah, I agree. I don't think it's. I'm actually really happy that Sony upheld that rule. Not so much for all of us who bought a Pro, and we didn't reap the benefits the way we should have. But so many people were playing PSVR on their OG, even to this day, still playing PSVR on their OG. And it's like to leave them in behind and say, fuck you, early adopters. We're leaving you in the dust.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But had they done that, when Pro came out, if they said, all right, it's okay for developers to make Pro exclusive VR games. Had they done that, would we have been sitting here for the last 2 years with nothing to play? I don't think we would have. I think we would have had some pretty decent support, some cross-gen support that was very lacking the last couple of years while all those PSVR, the OG PS4 players were still, playing through Astro World over again.
Right. We got 2 tips in the chat. We got Rody the Gamecat with the $5 tip. Asked you a question about your CES experience. He says, Wes, did you notice that if the PSVR 2 could do multiple types of haptics at the same time with switchback, using switchback as an example, the coaster, rain, and gunshots, could they all be done simultaneously?
I did not notice this. To be quite honest, the haptics were very present in this game. Everything you touch, everything you brush against activated the haptics. It was almost overdone. So no, I didn't notice any kind of differentiation between this thing or that thing or the other thing. So I don't know. I did not notice this.
And the next tip comes to us from Ryan Barron saying, was Robinson the Journey, $5 tip, thank you very much, says, was Robinson the Journey a game or a VR experience? I missed out on playing it. Robinson the Journey is actually on my list, Ryan. It is definitely a game. It was by Crytek, and so that meant it was beautiful. Like I thought this game was stunningly beautiful.
Good game.
Yeah, and it also a good game. Certainly not the game everybody thought it was. It was more of a puzzle game than anything else, but it was a blast. If you're a big fan of dinosaurs or Jurassic Park, like this was the game that you wanted to be playing. And it's literally one of the only PSVR1 games that doesn't work at all on PlayStation 5. Like just doesn't work. You could point to a lot of games that are glitchy or have issues, but this one won't even play. We need this. We need this on PSVR 2.
Yeah, I got lost in the exploration. You can call it a puzzle game, and technically that's what it is.
No, you're right.
But the majority of my game play time in this game was mapping all of the wildlife and filling up that kind of encyclopedia that you
the Pokedex
make as you go along. Yeah, that thing. That I got so enthralled with just exploring and finding all that stuff. The puzzles were really just secondary to me.
Yeah, you're right. I kind of forgot. It's been so long since I played through this. The exploration was a lot of fun and trying to figure out how to get from one place to another. There were definitely a lot of puzzles, but man, yeah, it just looked good. I think the funny thing about Robinson, anyone who's watched the channel for a long time already knows this full well, is that your character's walking around and the device he's holding and uses to scan different things looks like a Move controller, right? So you look screenshots of this game and it looks like it's Move compatible, but it's DualShock only, right? And so if they redesign this game to actually let you have 2 hands in the world, use sense controllers, the whole thing, you could actually climb without using head tracking and just looking at the thing you want to grab onto. It would be a lot of fun. But my question, Wes, is if the original version of this game, if your character was holding a Move control when it only supported the DualShock 4, what should your character be holding in the PSVR 2 version when you're using the Sense controllers?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
Just walking around with a fucking straight up aim controller and you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
VR rudder. I want to say VR rudder.
3D rudder?
Yeah, 3D rudder. There you go.
Love it. Burke Daniels with the $2 tip says Skyrim. That's an easy tip.
Yep.
What do you think? Okay, yep. So Bethesda's obviously been purchased by Microsoft, part of the ZeniMax deal. How long ago do you think this would have had to been in the works? A PSVR 2 version would have had to been in the works for this to actually be a possibility?
I wouldn't think they would have to work very long on it. I mean, if you're talking, I don't think that they're going to remake Skyrim and do a whole new version of it for PSVR 2, but I certainly think we could see some visual upgrades and that sort of thing. And I don't think that'd take very long. I mean, modders do it pretty frequently on PC. So I got to think that a company or any company that they would commission to do that, obviously they probably wouldn't do it themselves. I think they could do it in a year,
Yeah.
pretty easily.
Yeah, I did love playing Skyrim on PSVR1. I too frequently ended up playing with the DualShock 4 though, just because there were so many buttons and so much to kind of remember that just getting around and remembering which the jump button was and the crouch and which brought up your menu and which did this or that, it was a lot. And these were still relatively early days of PSVR, and so I unfortunately didn't play this in the most immersive way possible. I definitely jumped in there and was like, oh, I get two hands and I can shoot, lightning out of my hand and kill dragons with it. That was the reason I wanted to play this game. And I did it and I was so happy. But man, with the Sense controllers and just analog sticks and in normal button layouts, I do think that it would be a lot more fun. And it could probably save it from being such a waggle fest too, right? Maybe the haptics could give it a little bit more impact as you're sword fighting.
Yeah, the Pro Patch did a lot for that one, and I feel like if we see any kind of update, it'll be something along those lines. It'll be more visual. But I would love if the game were to get some physics to it. That would make it a whole new game.
Nihilist Ryan, the game feline, in the chat with a $2 tip, has another CES question for you, Wes. Says, do the orbs have L3 and R3 on the sticks? Can you push them in and click?
Horizon didn't use that, but I'm very confident that is the case. I do remember the capacitive touch being something that I tested out a lot, but you didn't have to press in on the sticks for any function that I experienced in that game. But again, having used every set of modern VR controllers over the last few years, I would be shocked if you couldn't click in on the sticks. Like, they all do that. So even the shitty WMR Windows Mixed Reality controllers have that on it. So yeah, I'm sure that's on there.
It's been a little while. I'm fairly certain this was already confirmed on the PlayStation blog when they went in depth with the Sense controllers and kind of pointed out every single element. But it's been a while since I really went through that. But I'm with you, Wes. If it wasn't there, I'd be really shocked. That's just been an integral part of PlayStation controllers since. When was that? PS3? Is that when they introduced that?
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring up something very similar to what we just talked about with DualShock controls, and that's going to be the persistence.
Yeah.
The persistence recently. I mean, it got a PlayStation 5 update, and unfortunately the PSVR version forced you to use the DualShock, so it wasn't quite as immersive as some people would like it to be. How likely do you think it is that we got this PlayStation 5 upgrade for the persistence and that it's not going to allow us to play the persistence on PSVR 2? I feel like this is right there, Wes, with Astrobot and Everybody's Golf VR and Blood and Truth. I feel like this should be packaged in with those games and say, hey, here's a sizzle reel of our PSVR1 games that are getting a PSVR 2 upgrade for you. This is just no brainer.
I think this is very likely to happen, and obviously the reason why, with Firesprite being a first-party studio now, this being a Firesprite game. Beyond that, this game just got a next-gen upgrade for flat platforms last year, and PS5 included. So yeah, I would be kind of surprised if we didn't see a next-gen version of persistence. Now, will that mean motion controls? Well, I mean, I don't know about that, but I do think that we will get a new version of this game that will use the Sense controllers, but I don't know if we'll have hand presence. It may just be like gamepad style controls with the VR controllers. But I do think we'll get a pretty substantial visual upgrade for this game because every other platform's gotten that. So I expect it here too. I also want to point out that we should change the title of this video to Brian and Wes want next gen versions of every PSVR horror game, because that's the ones we keep going back to. And we're pretty transparent at this point.
Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, what do you expect on a Wednesday?
That's who we are. You guys know who we are. This is who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not gonna hear these conversations on a Two Eyes Friday. I'm gonna guarantee you that. Right.
That's right.
Miles wants all these games to come to PSVR 2. He just doesn't want to play them because he's.
So Brian, let's talk about pupil wandering for a moment and Home Sweet Home.
I mean, in all fairness, Pupil Wandering and Daruma-san ga Koranda, right? The Red Light, Green Light.
Yeah.
These are horror games that never even came to the States. They were only released in other territories, like only Asian territories. And it's like let's get these over here finally. I think it's only fair.
Here. I remember when HorrorSense came out, I was like, I'm waiting for it to come to the NA store because I don't want to go through all that to get this game, but I so want to play it.
Yeah.
And then over time, it just kind of faded away, and here I am. It's 2023, and I still haven't played this game, but it looks amazing, and I do want to play it.
Here, while we're getting our next one, do I even have a video of HorrorSense? Are you kidding me? I don't have HorrorSense? Oh no, that's such a shame. I've failed as a YouTuber if I don't have a trailer for HorrorSense. We've got one more tip, and then we'll get another couple more going here. We got Twitcher, the single player game cat with the $2. It says Preta, Vendetta Rising, and the Solus Project. Dude, the Solus Project is a weird one, that's for sure, right? Because the Solus Project got delisted from the PlayStation Store, and the developers were like, we decided, it's not part of our business strategy or something to make money. And we're like, what? Why wouldn't you just keep selling it? I don't understand this. And then, of course,
I don't get that either.
And of course, Preta got that. I'm pretty sure that studio went belly up before they could even do the things they wanted to do with that game. Preta was great.
Well, I think you and AJ were the only person that played Preta, but maybe that's just me. But I will say this: I love the Solus Project. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a next gen version of it would also be great.
Ox Superman XO or OX _ Superman _ XO. That seemed like a mouthful. With the 50 Tyrannosaurus Rexes, he said, "I'd like to see Creed redone." I would too. I feel like boxing games are great in VR. It's relatively simple. You don't have to worry about too much about a lot of different gameplay mechanics. It's about dodging and weaving and bobbing and weaving. I guess is what they say. Punching. Right.
B Triple wants to know when's Gorn coming.
Well, they already perfected the movement in Horizon Call of the Mountain. You can walk around Gorn style in that game, so we're halfway there. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, Creed would be a good one to get in there. Also, I don't know what Servios was thinking with the whole California Raisins movement scheme in that. If Servios remakes Creed for PlayStation VR 2 and we have analog sticks and they still make us do things like this to just move around the ring, I'm out. Let me use the analog stick, man. That's ridiculous. There's no reason. Come on, dude, to not be able to just strafe easily in a boxing game, that's all you do. You just circle around the ring. Why are we doing this? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I am going to mention one really quickly here that's not on your list.
Whoa.
But should have been. And you people are sleeping on Starblood Arena. What the hell, guys?
Oh my God.
we need Starblood Arena back.
Yeah, I agree. Starblood Arena is, in my book, one of the best multiplayer games we ever got on PSVR1. Yep. And it looked stunning, especially on the Pro, that sense of depth and the clarity and just the way it felt to be piloting one of these ships and twisting and turning through caverns. So many people are like, it made me motion sick. And I was like, it was such good motion sickness. It was the best motion sickness I've ever felt. It sent my stomach twisting and turning. It felt like I was on a roller coaster just flying. I was like, I wonder how much of this I can take. And I could take a lot, man. Remember when that game shut down? Were you part of that? We played this game for 13 hours straight, waiting for the servers to shut down, and it just never did. I was like, I gotta go to bed, dude. It is 5 o'clock in the morning. The sun's coming up. Yeah.
I do remember that. I was working, but I do remember watching along the comments. I don't know if it was Discord or maybe you streamed it or something. I do remember that you guys just had to give up before the game even stopped.
That's a good one though. Definitely.
It's like you were playing chicken with the studio and they won.
They definitely won. Yeah. It was a good time, man. Starblood is the game, and then soon after that, of course, Firewall 0 Hour. That really made a multiplayer gamer out of me. I was very, very content to play my single player adventure games for the rest of my life. Those are my favorite games, you know, even the games that I kind of branched out. I actually played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I believe, on PS3. I remember going to GameStop and getting like the little Bluetooth earpiece and going in and being like, I'm going to play this game and I'm going to play multiplayer and I'm going to get good at it and the whole thing. And I played it for a couple days and then I just fell off. And I didn't even play more than 5 minutes of like the well-renowned, that's not a thing. There were multiplayer games on PS3, like the multiplayer part of Resistance 2, and I'm blanking on some of the other ones, but I just never played any of them. Last of Us Factions, I just never played any of this stuff, and because I just didn't care about multiplayer. But Starblood Arena and Firewall 0 Hour made a multiplayer gamer out of me. So well done.
Same for me, but it was more Firewall than anything. Like I never played online multiplayer. Like I went from like the last time I was really a hardcore gamer, I was doing a lot of Halo multiplayer and Halo 2. But after that, I kind of dropped out. And back then, it was still kind of split screen. You sat in the same room with people. They split the TV up, and you played multiplayer. Online multiplayer was never a thing for me, and that's the reason why you asked me last week about having multiple PSN accounts. When I started, and when I got my PS4, got my PSVR, I had no intention on playing multiplayer. So my handle was like my name and my birth year, and then after like a year, I realized I can't be going online with that kind of information.
Right.
So that's when I did the Lethal Weasel thing and started a new handle. So Firewall really changed a lot for me, and I am so excited for Ultra. I can't wait.
Definitely. Oh, and I think Firewall. For anyone, I've definitely seen some comments recently from people saying, "Oh, I really hope that Firewall gets remastered for PSVR 2." And I think that's what Ultra is, right? I think they really. I would bet that every single contractor and every single map from the first game will be in Ultra, right? It's really going to be like a Firewall 1.5 more than anything else. And so I kind of, as long as we don't leave anything behind, I'm sort of okay with Ultra sort of just taking that spot on PSVR 2, giving us everything we had plus more. And I really hope that's what they're doing with something like Everybody's Golf VR, right? Everybody's Golf VR is certainly on my list, but not because I want Everybody's Golf VR in 4K with Sense controllers. I want Everybody's Golf VR in 4K with Sense controllers and multiplayer and 7 more courses and cosmetics and all sorts of different things, and give me a reason to really, really. I will spend $60 on that game. I will spend $70 on that game. Right? They only charge us $30 for Everybody's Golf VR, but they really gave us a $30 game. We weren't getting a deal. We were actually missing like some real important features, I think.
With regards to Firewall Ultra, do you think they're going to bring everybody's like stats and arsenals along, or they're going to wipe the slate? I hope they wipe the slate.
I would say they got to wipe the slate. There's going to be too many new players jumping in. It's Although the people who are really good, I think are going to be apparent from the get-go. I mean, they take all the things that they learned from playing hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of Firewall, and from day one, I would think they're probably going to just wreck the field with Ultra. Ryan Barron, definitely the tipper of the day, with another $5 tip, says, "Do you think the DualSense PS5 controllers will have a way for the VR2 headset to track it? Because I would love to see games like Pixel Ripped." Now, Wes, as the PC and Quest professional, those Pixel Ripped games are on the other platforms. How do they feel with 2 separate controllers rather than a gamepad?
They feel fine. It's obviously a little bit better on PlayStation because everything's 1-to-1, but it's not something you really consider or think about when you're using regular controllers. It just you forget about it fairly quickly. Kind of like the Wire. You forget about it pretty quick.
So those games are going to be playable. We're going to be able to play them with the Sense controllers. Yeah. But what about games like Static, Wes? Static is one of the best puzzle games on PSVR, and I don't think that would work with 2 Sense controllers. So do you think there's going to be a way to track the DualSense?
Not in space. So what you got to realize is the way these controllers are tracked, only a small amount of it is the actual infrared light tracking. A lot is actually done with the magnetometer and gyroscopes. Yeah. So as long as you're not moving laterally and in and out, it'll track like the direction that you're holding the controller. You get some tracking. So I feel like they could, if they wanted to, bring static over, because it's not that important that you move your hands around. Honestly, though, I would much rather, and I really, really hope we see a sequel, because the new controllers have new features that they can incorporate into these puzzles and make it all that much better. The concept from the first game in a whole new game, that would be great.
Yeah, it would be. I just don't want to see this one get stuck on PSVR1. So really hoping they can do something, but we'll see.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's a hidden IR light somewhere in the Sense controller.
Right.
And that would solve all of our problems,
Well, yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Because Sony has been adamant about the fact that PSVR 2 and PlayStation 5 were developed sort of in conjunction with each other at the same time. And PlayStation 5 was... this isn't going to be a Frankenstein thing like PlayStation VR 1 was, with a breakout box and wires everywhere and craziness and light tracking from like a decade ago. So with that in mind, you've got to wonder if they said, well, are the 2 Sense controllers going to be the input for PSVR 2, or are we also going to let them use this controller that we packed in the box with the PlayStation 5? And you've got to figure that they thought about this. And thought about games like Static and said, we're going to have to, or Astrobot, we're going to have to give people a way to play those games. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there's something sneaky going on.
It wouldn't take much. These infrared lights, they hide on the other side of the controller shell, and you wouldn't know it if it was in there. You wouldn't know it. So, maybe it's there. Maybe we just don't know.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I feel like somebody needs to place a pizza bet out there, but I've already placed one today. I'm not placing another.
We're good.
I saw Endeavor 1 in the chat. I think it's only fair that to talk about the game that's on top of my list, not because it's on top of my mind, just because it's alphabetical. But Arashi Castles of Sin, a pretty good game on PSVR 1. But when I say a pretty good game, every time I bring this game up, I think more about its faults than the things I liked about it. And so for me, Arashi Castles of Sin would be a game that I really want to have a second chance on PSVR 2. Really polish this thing up and make it something special.
Yeah, I think the reason why that is, Brian, and it's the same for me, I think the reason why that is because we know what this game could be, right? Like, it's not far off from being a very, very good game.
Yeah.
It's held back by a lot of the limitations of the Gen 1 system. So this game on a Gen 2 system, upgraded, take care of a lot of these visual artifacts and things we get, the new controllers, and we could have something that's really good on PSVR 2.
Yeah, and it's absolutely the PSVR 1 hardware, the PlayStation 4 hardware, but it's also somewhat of the game design. Right, when it comes to the combat, I think I was most disappointed with the combat in this game. It just felt so one note. It never felt like you were really engaging in combat. It was sort of like just exploit the weakness, just like block, oh, boom, swipe, block, boom, swipe.
I played this game a lot more like a stealth game.
Yeah,
like I'm using the bow a lot, the blowgun, things like that, more than the hand-to-hand stuff. Of course, when you get to the boss fight. Yeah, that's a lot of button mashing and repetition. But as far as like playing through the levels, I had a lot of fun just sneaking around and shooting people in the back.
So many different gadgets to use and different weapons to play with. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Everybody, it's finally Tenchu in VR, and I was like, yeah, it is actually Tenchu in VR. Sadly, Tenchu was never that great of a game. I'm shitting on this game way more than I should, but like I really do. Like when we see this thing, I just saw Endeavor One in the chat say Arashi will continue into the future. So I hope that's a subtle way of saying we will see this on PSVR 2. I want the combat to feel more like Swordsman. I want it to feel. That's the thing we keep saying about Swordsman. Like we want these mechanics in a full-fledged game, and so if they're somehow able to implement that and give us, then they'll be delivering a game that we've been asking for years now. And so I've got my fingers crossed. I'm really, really hoping. Endeavor One says, Brian, you will feel ashamed of your words and deeds. I feel like I better sleep with the light on tonight.
Yeah, good idea.
All right, man. Let's do one more. What do you got for me? Make it a good one.
Okay, one more. Make it a good one. Give me a half a second here if I have to make it a good one. Nope.
I've got a good one, but
you go for it then.
All right, and if you've got another one,
I already know what you're going to say.
You do?
I already know what you're going to say because I just saw it too.
It's not Immortal Legacy.
It's not Immortal Legacy. All right, well, go ahead then.
I'm glad I knew which one you thought it was going to be.
You did, yeah, because it's an obvious one, right? Immortal Legacy.
Yeah, but Immortal Legacy is one that is such a selfish choice, right? Because I want Immortal Legacy on PSVR 2, but I think since we're not doing a show for me, we're doing it for other people. I think maybe we need to talk about Hitman 3.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because
that would be great.
Well, mostly because they really screwed up with PSVR 1. They gave us one of the best looking PSVR 1 games I've ever seen. I could not believe when I put the headset on and saw just how detailed the world was. It wasn't blurry. It was practically crystal clear. They sacrificed very, very little getting it into VR. And then the DualShock 4 support just kind of ruined all of the immersion that they had built up with these beautiful, beautiful environments and the NPCs everywhere. And it wasn't just that you had one hand that you were moving around with the DualSense. It was that just certain things just didn't work. Like the choke wire, whatever the hell that's called, it just never worked. Just never worked. And so I think they kind of screwed up by not giving us two hands and move support to begin with. But this is their chance, especially now that they've combined it all, like Hitman 1, 2, and 3, into the world of assassination. It's just like their new Hitman platform. This is their chance to be like, okay, we fixed everything. And here's all of the games, and here's dual sense controls. God.
Let me just say that you should be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Because you just might get it. They actually brought Hitman 3 VR to PC sometime after it launched on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. And despite popular opinion, I can confirm for you that it is better on PC. The problem is it's not as good as it should have been on PC.
Oh, no.
They implemented, hand presence into the game. So you have both of your hands now, but it's still button press interactions. You're not like grabbing things with your grip button or anything. You still have to press buttons to pick things up. You can't grab anything with your left hand. You can wave it around. It's there, but you can't use it for anything. But what it did do that made the game a lot better on PC than on PlayStation is that when you're using a two-handed weapon, if you bring your left hand up to it, it automatically grabs it. Oh. And now you have two points of articulation with the two-handed weapons. Shooting two-handed weapons was just like a no-go for me on PlayStation. Like, no thank you. I'll shoot my pistol with my one-handed, DualShock thing, but two-handed weapons was just way too janky. It didn't feel natural. I didn't like it at all. On PC, you can use weapons, and it really kind of opened up a whole new aspect of the game that wasn't on PlayStation. But with that said, the devs kind of sold this to the crowd as full PCVR support for the game, and they did not deliver that. And in turn, the reviewers ate this fucking game alive.
Yeah.
Everyone said, don't even play it in VR, play it flat, which I found unbelievable because these are the same people that were raving about it on PlayStation. Now saying that it sucks on PC, even though it's actually a little better. But yeah, I think we could see this on PSVR 2, but I don't think it's going to be what we want it to be if we do.
I mean, I just hope that these don't. I hate saying this, but that never stops me from saying anything, does it? These developers seemed during every Q&A, every AMA, they just seemed a little bit tone deaf, a little bit like they weren't paying attention to the community and what the community wanted. We asked them why there wasn't going to be move support. This was long before it came out, why there wouldn't be move support. And they said because there's not enough buttons on the move controllers. And then we played the game and I was like, you're using like literally 2 buttons in this game. That was such a ridiculous answer. We were like, did you play Skyrim by any chance? And they're like, yes, we played Skyrim. I was like, that Skyrim uses way more buttons than yours. No, you absolutely didn't. Yeah. So I just hope that they've taken all this criticism and they've listened to the feedback and played other games and seen how things work and actually listened to say, this is what the VR community wants. And recognize that their game is so close. So close. And that they only have to take an extra step or two to really deliver. So I'm hopeful, Wes, and I'm not sure if I should be. It sounds like maybe I shouldn't.
6 months tops of work into this game makes it probably the best game in VR. Like, it's that close. There's so much AAA content here. I love this game. It's so great, even as it is today, but it could be so much better.
I agree. You got one more in the chamber, or do we need to wrap this thing up?
Well, I mean, I was going to touch on Immortal Legacy, but again, everything we just said about Hitman, true of this game too. This game also came to PC and was a clusterfuck of a mess. Like, the control system was just shot. It's like they just ported it straight from PlayStation over to PC, but then they didn't change anything about it. They just, here you go. And it just doesn't quite work as well on other VR systems as it did on PSVR. So I don't know. I don't have much faith in this one.
Let's see here. We've got Snacks, please. The future arrives Gamecat with a $10 tip. It says, could you have Alexin or some other developer on to give us a Mark Cerny style tech talk? Or are there still NDAs preventing that? Also, do y'all know any more insider info, or is it pretty much all out there? Let's take the first part first. I don't know what developers would be allowed to say. Because I mean, people have gone hands-on with the PSVR2 headset. I don't know what there would be for developers to still be NDA'd about.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, on a technical level, it's all pretty much out there. I mean, occasionally I'll get some super technical question and I won't know the answer to it, but it's all very minuscule, minor things that is going to be cleared up within 5 minutes on day one. So, I mean, we all pretty much know what it is at this point. It's a next gen VR system. It's head and shoulders above anything else that's out there right now, but it's not like so far ahead of everything else that, people were saying it's like playing VR for the first time. It's not like that. Okay. It's not like playing VR for the first time all over again, but it's the best VR I've ever experienced by a fair margin. I'll say that about it.
The chat wants you to be more excited. And by the chat, I mean me. I want you to be more excited.
I'm very excited. I'm just not a very emotive person, Brian. Like, it's all in the eyes.
Are they? You see? Yeah. They seem to be facing me. Are they really facing me, or is that the?
They are.
Yeah. Wow.
They are.
Craziness.
They are for real.
Craziness. The second half of this question, which I accidentally scrolled off the screen, was, do you guys know any more insider info, or is it pretty much all out there?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the difficult part about this, right? Is that the stuff that we're told, we keep getting new info as the old info gets revealed, and so it seems like this constant cycle of like new information coming out and the old information getting revealed, and so it's just kind of going through. I feel like we're just kind of always going to know some stuff that hasn't quite been revealed yet, and I don't know about you, Wes, but I am super excited about the shit that hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah, that's me. Like, as far as the hardware goes, most of that stuff's been revealed, but on the software end, there's a lot people don't know about. And, if we were to just come out here and spill all of it, not only would it not be insider information anymore, but we'd never get any more insider information ever again because no one would share anything with us. So yeah, there's more. There's a lot more, and you'll all be privy to that in due time.
Yeah, that is the downside. People are always like, why don't you just tell us? If you know, then just tell us. And I'm like, well, dude, there's been so many leaks. We've leaked so much stuff on Without Parole, but when we leak stuff on Without Parole, it's because we're not under NDA from the source of that information, right? Like I've leaked the release window for PSVR like 8 months to 12 months before Sony even did, before they finally told us we released the full list of specs for PSVR2 months before Sony did. But I don't have any agreement with Sony. Like I'm not in constant contact with Sony. They're not giving me this information ahead of time. I'm getting this from like external sources. And so the problem is like a lot of the information Wes and I know are from development studios who are making the games and have developed this level of trust with us. And
friends. These are our friends.
I mean, to a certain extent, I do try to keep it. I try to keep some kind of walls up when it comes to that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, essentially. So we don't want to burn bridges. We don't want to reveal information until we're allowed to, which is there's good things involved in that. It's kind of cool to have that level of trust with some people, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. There's a little bit of me that misses being a kid on Christmas morning and unwrapping the presents under the tree and being like surprised by every single thing. Luckily, when it comes to like big Sony state of plays, right? There's always stuff that none of us know anything about, and we're like, yes, and that's when you see us get really excited when we're like, fuck, man, this is great news.
I feel you. There's still stuff that surprises us, and that's great. Learning about Switchback was probably the highlight of my year last year. I was so happy when I saw that. But then again, I would give anything to just be so stupid that I didn't already know that Gran Turismo was coming. I wish that was a surprise. Obviously, not so much.
We got Burke Daniels with the $2 tip. Says 400 people watching and only 50 likes. Is that true? Listen, I mean, if Miles isn't here, I guess I'll do the Miles thing. Guys, make sure you click the like button and subscribe to the channel.
Come on.
And subscribe to Wes's channel over at Virtual Strangers. The link for that's in the description below. If you don't think Without Parole is cutting it, then boy, do they have a bunch of content over there.
Yeah, man. Big. Not only do you have a nearly 14-hour episode to make your way through, but there are giveaways top to bottom in that thing, and it's not over. Like, we have a 2-week entry period for our second chance giveaway, which is larger than the stuff we gave away live. So if you guys haven't already checked out the 2022 show, go give it a look. Go get started on it. You'll need the 2 weeks.
I got to make sure we get all these tips in. Wa Griever with the $2 says, love the coverage, cats. Trading Quest for PSVR2. I'm assuming that's what he's saying. Trading. This was a Nathy video. Did Nathy convince you to sell your Quest 2 and get a PSVR2?
Good move.
Yeah, I would say a good move for sure. He also says Twisted Metal. Let's hope so. There's definitely tons of rumors about Twisted Metal game in development, and we've speculated at length about how cool that would be in VR. Want to play that with the wheel.
Word has it that that's going to be a Fire Sprite game, which bodes well for us.
Yeah. Also, lots of sirens on my end, and also Fire Sprite's making a horror game, and no mention of VR. But again, with Fire Sprite making Call of the Mountain and the Persistence, why wouldn't it be VR? Hopefully, it's a hybrid game.
Yeah, I'm thinking Fire Sprite's going to be the new London studio, right? Like the VR studio in the Sony stable.
Let's hope so. We got this is an interesting one. I actually read this one ahead of time. Tech Noir with the $4.50 says, has Wes ever had botox? It's hard to tell if he's excited, happy, sad, or surprised. On the plus note, his boyish looks are dashing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have a permanent poker face. You can't ever tell what's going on in here. Some people might claim Botox, others might claim, I'm a sociopath of some sort. But who knows which is true? Maybe a little bit of both. I am very excited for PSVR 2, though. I don't. I've had a hard life, right? It's hard for me to show emotion openly to people. It takes a while for me to get there, and we're getting there. We've been together for a year now. I'm starting to let my walls down a little bit with you, but yeah, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. It's all in the camera, by the way. I just got a new camera. It makes me look super good. But
You do look super
thank you.
good.
You know what the weird thing about it is? I noticed how much better the new camera looks. It's 720p. It's actually downresed from my webcam, which was full HD 1080. So I don't know. Maybe we should keep it downres. Maybe that's good for me.
Technoir says, "No offense, Brian. I'm sure you scrub up." No, this is the best I got.
Berbercat says, "I just assumed drugs, Wes." Well,
sometimes you assume correctly.
Sometimes.
I'm pretty sure you promised me a litter box episode where we talk about our pasts.
Oh boy, did I? Yeah, that's true. I did that.
Yeah.
We should do that sometime.
We should do that sometime. Maybe before PSVR2 gets here, because I feel like we're going to be real fucking busy real soon.
I'm down. I've got most of my stuff in the rear view now, so I've got a few weeks. So yeah, I'm down.
Juan in the chat says maybe you just need a little weed to make you giggle just a little bit.
That'd be great, man. They just legalized medical here
Hell yeah.
at the beginning of the year, but I don't know what that means for me and my job. I don't know if my job will accept that, or if they're going to say it's still federally illegal, so don't touch it. So I have to be real careful with the things that I consume. To be honest, we can make jokes about drug use a lot, but I don't really get to use them anymore because of my responsibilities won't allow it.
And we're also old, Wes. Like,
yeah, we are.
The amount of cocaine I consumed in my early years would kill me.
Yeah.
I'd blow one line and I'd be dead. You guys would just be like, this is all you would see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think about that often. Like, could I do it again? Probably couldn't do it again.
Yeah. Like Brian's blowing a line. Oh no. He's dead. Okay. Just be nothing on the camera.
Brian's blowing an artery.
Yeah, more likely. Hey, the PSVR2 issue of Edge magazine showed up today.
Nice.
I'm very, very happy to have a physical version of this. I love my Electronic Gaming Monthly collection of magazines, but physical magazines I don't really have anymore. But as soon as I saw that this existed in physical form, I had to order it and get it from, I believe it's printed in the UK. So very, very cool. Look, what they didn't show was, obviously the PSVR2 is on the front cover, but then a nice big DualSense on the back. I say DualSense all the time. Sense controller.
It's a single sense controller, which means
single sense.
Golem, maybe? Maybe it's for Golem? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, hold on a second. The very last page of the magazine has one, and then you close it, and there's the other one.
There we go. How clever are they?
They are so clever. So clever that I actually assumed that would be the case when I opened the back cover. It's pretty good. All right, Wes, we can't stay here all night. I'm sure you got things to do, and I got things to do. So before we get to 20 questions, let's handle Looper, the Underground Gamecat's tip with €2. Says, I got that issue delivered to Germany last week. Yeah.
It's exciting, Brian. It's exciting to see the larger media pick it up. Like, we make our jokes about IGN and how bad they suck, but it's cool that IGN is talking about VR, even if they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, like us, Wes, it must have been a slow news day.
Right.
And so for them, talking about PSVR2 is what they do on a slow news day when there's nothing else to talk about. Meanwhile, we're over here talking about PSVR2 every day. It's a completely different situation. All right, man.
It's interesting that you say that, because it is kind of like, what's the next big Sony banger that's coming into flat space? Have they even announced it yet?
The next one that's coming out is isn't Forspoken the next exclusive that they have? I know it's not huge, but it's big.
Yeah, I don't. That doesn't qualify in my mind. Like I'm talking about
God of War style,
like your Last of Us, your God of War, your big ones. We always know what the next one is. There's no next one right now. It's just VR2, which is kind of cool.
Spider-Man
right?
2, right? They announced that for late 2023, something like that.
Oh wow, we'll get something before then, I'm sure.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think honestly, I think they're giving VR2 the spotlight for another month or two, and then we'll know what's next.
God, let's hope so. We got Wagreaver in the chat with the £2. Says, would love to see a surprise return of Motorstorm VR. Wow, we're digging far back.
This one comes up a lot, actually, though.
Yeah.
I see it every time we have this conversation on any of the shows. People always bring Motorstorm up.
Yeah. I mean, dude, arcade racing in general, I feel like doesn't get enough love. I've been saying constantly, we need Ridge Racer in VR. We need Burnout in VR. These games are just so exhilarating in a way that, like, no offense to, to Gran Turismo, but it takes a long time to get to the super fast cars in Gran Turismo. And then you got to be real careful when you're driving them, right? Because otherwise you're going to slam into every single wall. It's not a lot of drifting in those games. So it's just a completely different experience drifting around corners in Ridge Racer at top speed than it is like, trying to take a turn in Gran Turismo at top speed, which you can't do. You like slam on the brakes and you all go down to about 20 miles an hour and you take the turn real slow and then you all speed up again. And it's like, it's just not as exhilarating as like a Ridge Racer.
Agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Reality is boring. I don't go into VR to simulate real life. I want to simulate things that I can't do in real life. So.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Wes, before this becomes the longest episode of all time, how do you feel about playing a game of PSVR 20 questions?
I feel pretty good about it, Ryan, honestly.
Well, I bet you feel good about it because you're the host this time. You don't have to guess, which means I'm in big trouble. Guys, I'm going to put 6 minutes up on the clock. That means you guys out there and me over here, we got 20 yes or no questions in only 6 minutes to figure out what PSVR game Wes is thinking of. Please, for the love of God, I need all the help I can get because even though I've played and reviewed almost every single one that's ever come out, my brain is mush. So help me remember.
This is an easy one that you're not going to get, Ryan.
Oh, it's Immortal Legacy.
Damn it, you got it. 0 questions. No, it's not Immortal Legacy.
That's a new one. All right. It's an easy one that I'm not going to get. Oh, man. That's going to be stuck in my head the entire time. What are you doing, bud? Tornado's all up in my shit right now. All right, here we go. On your mark. Get Des. Go. Can you use analog sticks in this game?
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay. So we're going to say moves only, but that might be wrong. Who knows? Was this a launch year within the first year of the PSVR1 game?
No.
Okay. Not launch year. Old Darth asks, is it based on a known IP?
Nope.
Shades of Grey Matter says, have the developers made other PSVR games?
Yes.
Ooh, that always helps. Because then we can narrow down the studio that made it. Is the studio... I just got to get this out of the way. Is the studio Servios?
No, it's not Servios.
Okay,
that's
it's not
5.
That eliminates like 19 games.
Yeah, right.
Sadukar 7th Legion with the 2 quid says, I still pray for Ridge Racer Remaster, true to PlayStation 1. Yeah, I'll give you that. Hopefully I didn't miss any other tips. Okay, we got to get moving here. Get moving. Rody the Gamecat, is it a shooter? You're mostly shooting in this game.
Yeah, technically, yes.
Okay. Lots of shooting.
It's not a basic... It's not your standard shooter, but it is what you're doing primarily.
Can you also use melee weapons?
It's a good one. I don't think so. Maybe there's a melee attack, but it isn't something that you use primarily. That's mainly shooting.
Okay. Jason Voorhees asks if it's got a horror theme.
No, it's not a horror game.
Okay. Well, that eliminates Shooty Fruity, because that is definitely a horror game. Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry in the chat says, does it have full locomotion?
No.
No full loco. Okay, let's... Shades of Grey Matters trying to figure out if it's Gun Club. Is it made by the Binary Mill?
No, it's not.
Damn it.
That's 10.
That also eliminates a bunch of games.
It does.
Okay. Awesome Tatum's wondering about Archangel. Is this game made by Skydance Interactive?
Nope.
Wow. This is bad. Okay. Elver, I don't want to ask if it's a wave shooter because shooting's not all we're doing in this game. But let's get it out of the way because that's all I can think about. Is it a wave shooter?
It is a wave shooter. And I didn't say shooting wasn't all that you're doing in this game. I said that it isn't your standard shooter, you know.
Okay.
You'll understand what I mean at the end.
Right.
It is technically a wave shooter. Yes.
Okay. God. Is this Western themed?
No.
Sorry, Chaos. It's not Guns and Stories. Is this? Are you stationary for the entire game?
I mean, what do you mean by that? Do you mean like is your body stationary? Is your in-game character stationary?
I mean, is there any form of locomotion at all? We said there's no full locomotion, but can you teleport around? Can you node to node? Do you? Yeah.
No, there's nothing like that. You are still.
Okay. Would you consider this game a game you chase high scores in?
There certainly is that element to it. Yes.
Okay.
That's 15.
Okay, I think Bit Jello Boy might be on something with Space Pirate Trainer here. Is this a space game? Are you out in space?
I mean,
kind of?
not really. I mean, sometimes you get that feeling like you're in space, but it's not like you're not in a ship shooting things or anything like that. So no, I wouldn't call it a space game.
Okay. Is it a bullet hell shooter? Alfred, I'm going to go with your line of questioning because you got us to the wave shooter.
Elvert keeps foiling me. Yes, it is a bullet hell shooter.
Is this by any chance made by a studio called Secret Location?
It's not.
Guys, it's not Blasters of the Universe. God damn, that was so close.
That's 18.
Sanador asks, is there a rhythm element to this?
No, 19.
Crap. Sinuev is wondering about Res Infinite. Is this made by Enhanced Games?
No.
Oh God, 20. We're running out of. Oh God. Is this made by Konami?
No, 21.
Is this made by Arvory? I know we're so.
It is 22. It is made by Arvory.
Crap! With minus 3 questions to go, and minus 10 seconds to spare. Is this by any chance Yuki?
This is Yuki. Yuki is an amazing game. It's a load of fun, and it's $10 right now. Everybody go buy it.
Wow. I had a lot of fun with Yuki. I had very few complaints about it. I'm a big fan of memorization in shoot 'em ups. But so the randomized stuff in this game kind of like bugged me a little bit, but everything else about it was so much fun. Yeah, if you guys like shooters at all, you should definitely play Yuki. Looper is the keeper of the 20 questions wins and losses. You got to put this one down as a loss because it took me 23 questions to get it, but it sure was fun getting there. That's for sure.
Good work, Elbert. Elbert was on to me from the beginning. I met Elbert. Did I tell you I met Elbert? I met Elbert.
You met Elbert?
I met Elbert.
Oh,
yeah.
Did you?
Elbert,
you met him
Elbert was at the party. Yeah, he was at the party.
Nice. Give me a description. Paint me a portrait.
Well, I mean, we're talking about I met Elbert at the end of the night.
So
as he was getting ready.
So it's blurry. It's a blurry portrait.
It is pretty blurry, but I remember. I was at the bar for like the last hour talking to a bunch of people, and I kept looking over and seeing my wife. This dude talking to my wife. Like this dude's totally talking to my wife, and like, okay, he's still talking to her. She's still over there. They're still talking. It's like 45 minutes, an hour in. I walk over and it's like, hi, I'm Elbert. I'm like, oh, Elbert. Okay. And like all of a sudden everything starts to make sense. Elbert was a very friendly young man, and yeah, I'm very grateful that he got Betty home safely. Thank you, Albert.
That's awesome to hear. I'm a big fan of Elvert myself.
Yeah.
It goes long before this, but his dedication to getting the best time, not just in our community, but fucking like worldwide, in some of the time trials on Iron Man VR, it was very, very impressive. So.
Very, very nice, friendly, sociable person. Really enjoyed getting to meet Albert.
London Roland in the chat with the $5 tip says mixed reality news, which is a questionable site to begin with. Just an article about Miles Dyer's video, PSVR 2 cable not being easy to remove. It even had his picture. I love the picture that they used in this article because they point to the part of the wire that looks like it's hardwired in, not to the point where it actually detaches from the headset. It's adorable that people are somehow misrepresenting everything that we've said. We revealed that on Gamescast Live months ago. It was the title of the video that the cable on PSVR 2 is detachable. Miles was able to show you guys what we were describing. And so it is 100% detachable. We've got friends that have detached the cable and have explained to us, you got to remove the padding and you got to it's some work, right? You're not just going to rip the thing out and be like, oh, go buy a new cable and replace it. It's some work. You're not going to want to replace the cable unless you have to. But the point is, people are like, well, does it void the warranty? Does it do this? Does it do that? The point is that it is detachable and is replaceable, right? Which the PSVR1 cable was not, at all. You had to send that shit to Sony. And so hopefully.
Who wants it? Who wants it to be easily detachable? That sounds like a nightmare if it's easily detachable. It keeps pulling out and ruining your game. Right. Newsflash, people, I have a bunch of headsets that have detachable cables. None of them come out easily. You have to take it apart and pull the cable out. Yeah. This is what we want. It's not a bad thing.
Right. And I thought about tweeting to clarify and this and that. It's you know what? It's we've said our piece. We've said what we know over and over and over. I love that the Gatorade disappears right before it hits your mouth, Wes, because of the green screen. You can see it in the glass, but right before it hits your mouth, it disappears. So it's this weird optical illusion. It's craziness.
Yeah, I'm not actually a real person. I'm just an AI construct. I'm here. Co-host bot 2000.
But anyway, like I said, we said our piece, and when we don't just make outrageous claims for no fucking reason at all, we say the shit that we know, and we check and double check it before we make videos and talk about it on Gamescast for the most part. So we do our best over here, but people can interpret it however they want to. That is not our cross to bear. That is theirs. Looper the Underground Gamecat with the €5 says Quest 2 has an easily detachable cable and it's a nightmare. God, I hate where that cable plugs in so much. But
yeah, it's not good, and there's no way to make it comfortable either. I've tried tethering it this way and that way. It's always a pain in my ass. So I don't use it.
Wes, we need to get out of here. We somehow did over a 2-hour show on yet another slow news day. But thank you for hanging out, man. Guys, make sure you subscribe to Wes and his friends over at Virtual Strangers, where they cover not just PSVR and PSVR2 news, but also Quest and PC and all sorts of other headsets, and really just the most ridiculous length videos you've ever seen on the face of the planet. This man does not enjoy editing.
Nope. I don't, and which kind of sucks because that's what I have to do now. Now that all that's behind us. Now I've got to start editing because I've got a camera full of stuff that people want to see. So that's the next step, back to editing.
Genetic Booger, the caddy gamer with the $2 tip says, can those cushions be washed or swapped? I will tell you this. We've been told over and over and over again that the rubber on PSVR 2 is a different type of rubber than PSVR 1. Does not seem like it'll flake off. It seems much more cohesive, if that's the right word for this. So it's not something you should be worried about. But can they be washed? I don't know, man. Can they be swapped? Well, where are you going to get another one? That's the real question.
For what it's worth, my PSVR didn't start flaking until last year anyway. It has held in there for quite some time through hundreds of hours of use. And I do wipe it. I have wiped it every time I've used it almost. So yeah, I'm not concerned with that at all.
Yeah, I mean, mine's flaking, but like, what are you gonna do?
I just when mine started, I just peeled it all off, like all of it.
Oh, really?
I just peeled all of it off. Yeah, now it's just got like a soft foam on it.
I just enjoy taking the headset off and seeing like little black flakes all over my fucking forehead.
Yeah,
Right.
not my thing, bro.
And then forgetting and ending up at the supermarket and people are just looking at me like, what's all over his fucking face? Ryan Barron. Sorry. What are the plans as we get closer to VR2 launch? There are no plans, man. We're taking it day by day, hoping to get in contact with somebody who can help us out, who can get us headsets ahead of launch so that we can do our jobs and review games and review the headset and make all the videos you want us to make. I really don't want it to be February 22nd and being playing catch up for like weeks. But so
Don't do it.
There are no plans until somebody can help us.
Even if that's what happens, don't do it, Brian. Enjoy this. We have waited too long on this to happen to just rush through it and not smell the roses when it gets here. Take your time with it. Enjoy it. We don't get very many of these.
Listen, if we don't get review units, everyone else I know is like, I'm taking the week of launch off. I'm taking February 22nd to the 29th off from work. And I was like, well, you know what? If I don't get my unit till the 22nd, maybe I'll take a week off from work. And I'll come back after a week and be like, guys, I played Resident Evil Village and I played Call of the Mountain. And they're amazing games. And I'll just kind of recap my week without any video footage.
We'll do impressions, Brian. It'll be okay.
It'll be great. All right, you guys, it's time to get out of here. Please, just want to thank everybody who helps the channel run. Jamie out for getting this thing up on podcast services of your choice. Yes, that includes Spotify. Guys, we hit, we broke the top 100 of gaming podcasts. That's fucking crazy. Thank you so much for all your support out there. If you're listening to this, you're doing your job. If you're watching this, you're kind of doing a better job. It helps us out way more. Also, Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry, who has the unbelievable task of putting timestamps into the show after it airs. Dude's a fucking god. I don't know how he does it. Also, all the moderators who might make my life so much easier. Brody out there, who's organizing the 2024 Gamecat Meetup already. Amazing, amazing guys. And thank you to everybody who keeps the channel running from patreon.com/withoutparolegames. All the tips that we got in the chat tonight. Everybody who participated in the chat. And, of course, everybody who sits back and doesn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. Wes, let's get out of here.
Bye.
Tweet you the single player game cat in the chat says, people say, what's that all of his fucking face? About me too, but even when I haven't been playing VR. I'm concerned about Twitcher.
Yeah, that's not a good thing for people to say. No. I mean, at least you have an excuse, right? Your 7-year-old gaming peripheral is flaking onto your face.
Genetic Booger, the catty gamer. Now I can identify with this one. Mine stinks, he says. Sweat absorbed into it. Hard as fuck to clean it. Dude, there is definitely, I know this is going to sound really gross, but there's a smell coming from my oldest PSVR1 headset that I'm like, I don't know if I can get rid of this scent. I think it's just sweat that's in every crevice of that thing. I'm just disgusting.
Yeah, mine doesn't smell, but at least I can't really say that. Maybe it does, and I just don't smell it because that's what they say is like the people that smell the worst, they don't smell it at all because they're used to it. Maybe that's just it. I don't smell anything coming from mine. I've always been very careful to clean it as much as I can. A little bit anal about that sort of thing, but it probably stinks. It probably smells really bad.
It probably stinks.
Notice it.
Yeah, I do actually have a clean, refurbished PSVR1 headset that's seems like it's never been used. So at a certain point, I will retire the smelly one and send it on its way out to the trash heap. Unless anybody wants it. It's really gross.
That helps. That probably helps too because I do have 2 of them.
Yeah.
I've got 2 of them. I've got 2 aim controllers. I've got 4 moves. I've got 3 PlayStations. Like I've got the setup here for multiplayer in house, and I do swap them, so it probably helps a lot.
Wes, we should probably end the show before I reveal any more disgusting hygienic stories.
Or we could just talk for another 30 minutes like we typically do.
I mean, we can if you want. What do you want? What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about how 24 Season 1 on PSP takes up 8 UMDs?
Oh, I did not know that. I was into 24 though. I had the box set though. I didn't have it on my PSP.
8 UMDs. Who the fuck? Okay, I made a big deal about this on the last show. There's no reason to continue this. All right. Good night, everybody. We love you all.